evening, everyone. Massacre speaking to us this evening, the 15th of November 2021. Now, it is exactly 1 year and 1 month that our fellow citizens were massacred in Lagos, what was famously called the Lekki Massacre. That incident happened and was denied by those who we paid money and we still pay money to protect our territorial integrity and to protect our lives and property. And those who are in the hem of affairs of the nation at some point said that the youth came together at Lekki to remove the government. Now, that would explain why a government that ought to protect its citizens would take such stand. And it is indeed a tragedy. A tragedy that I will call it. The reason why I am doing this broadcast this evening is that because of it, having read this document, blazed through it, I got this document this evening. We've written on it. If you want to get the full document, please head to njenjemedia.com. You will see the report in there. I think that's the latest report now. You will see the report in there. And a link will also be added in this stream. So for ease of those of you who may wish to go read the whole report, which I will be analyzing this evening. The report is about 300 and something pages actually. I think about 369 pages. So what I will do this evening is to pick up the highlights, look at the executive summary, look at the conclusion. The conclusion is really, really important. And I wish and I pray that you stick around. Yes, of course, I know that it's late now. We should all be sleeping. But hey, of what use is our sleep to us if our lives, if our brothers and sisters, their lives were just cut short in this manner and no one was held accountable for such heinous crime? Now, for the first time in a long while, my faith in some of the institutions, it's somewhat been restored by what I have seen in this report. Before now, we know the intel that some of us got and how that intel was passed through the back channel. Before now, many of us, myself included, never believed that these informations were given to, that they were going to do anything. But waking up today, getting this report, reading this report, finding out maybe not as deep as I would have wished, but at least what they have done has restored my faith in humanity. That sometimes that we criticize ourselves, I can say to us that some of us could actually do something good if they wish to. Without further ado, I'll quickly breeze in and begin to look at this report. Now, we published it and we say it's a breaking news. Of course, that's what it is. Enters a Lagos panel, as I said before, today brought out their report. And in that report, it has it very clearly stated, saying that Nigerian army, Nigerian police shot live bullets, killed people at the Lekki Tollgate. They killed protesters. And the worst of it that will make you clinch for moments is that they killed fellow citizens while they were singing the national anthem. That report also concluded that the deliberate absence of the officers of the Nigerian army who were present at the Lekki Tollgate and who were also summoned by the panel was a calculated attempt to conceal material evidence from the panel. Of course, you summoned someone, they somewhat played their God. You know the way they play you and I. Nothing came out of their son. They didn't want to come. But again, thank God for the Lagos State Judicial Panel on NSAS, which today submitted its report. And like I said, if you head to the description of this video, you will see the report, you will see a direct link to Njenje Media where this report is published. You can now click and you can download this report and make whatever you want to make out of that report. But if you will stick around, I wouldn't want to bore you more, but I think that's going to be because we are going to collectively, as a people, as a community, let us look into this report and see actually what happened. Again, if I have looked at all this report, the conclusion is something that is very striking because the report concluded that the deliberate absence of officers of the Nigerian army who were present at Lekki Tollgate and who were summoned by the panel was a calculated attempt. I've said that before, I'm repeating that again for us to actually understand when people whom we have given job to do basically try to ignore whatever that is required of them. If you recall, that Lekki massacre happened October 2020. That panel was inaugurated on the 19th of October 2020. And what was it all about? Because young people came together to say enough of the nonsense from SARS. SARS was killing them. And they said, end SARS now. And that panel was, constituted to take complaints of citizens against human rights abuses by the police. In that report that we have today, the panel found, and I want to highlight the following for us. These are the key point that, key takeaway from us here that the panel found. That from evidence of General A.I. Taiwo, who is the Commander 81 Military Intelligence Brigade, Nigerian Army, Victoria Island, which is on page 6. So I would go, we'll go eventually to these pages 6, 21, and pages 22. That the panel finds both blank and live ammunitions at that Lekki, even when the panel went for their own inspection, they still found live ammunitions. Like I said, remember, as at October, 30th of October, that's inadvertently, 10 days from the day that panel was constituted. When the panel visited the scene for spot assessment, it was still able to discover 2 bullet shell, which was duly analyzed by forensic experts hired by the panel. The name of the forensic experts hired by the panel, but eventually they found out that these bullet shells were from the Nigerian army, and they were expended shell, meaning they were fired live at the Lekki Tollgate. They were fired live at the Lekki Tollgate when our siblings, our brothers, our sisters were singing. When they were singing, and those paid to protect them, those who should act as their fathers and mothers, looked at them in the eyes and fired these blank bullets. Live ammunitions. That is a tragedy. Indeed, a tragedy, and it makes one's heart bleed. We cannot keep quiet, and we must not keep quiet, and we will never keep quiet. The greatest tragedy here, people, is those of us in so many WhatsApp forums, on so many platforms, who knew that these things happened. But because of their some political gain, some political porridge, or some narcissistic thinking that they have, they began to deny this. Some of them, I know, would even mock and say, Mazi, show us the dead bodies. I'm like, an adult, Are you normal? You want me to show you the dead bodies already taken away by the Nigerian military? How on earth do you want me to prove that to you? When we had reports from some of the pathologists who worked on these people saying, yes, there were people from these places that died. Again, on injuries that were sustained at this Lekki, the panel finds that testimony of Dr. Bajide Lawansin of Raditon Hospital as to the nature of treatment offered to the victims of LekkiTollGate incident in relation to gunshot wounds, which were highly velocity entry and exit, all indicates injuries from military weapons, consistent, very, very, underline that word, consistent with the bullet shell recovered by the panel during its visit at the witness, and the witnesses that testified before the panel. You would want to ask yourself, how on earth are those who we gave the authority to protect you turn around because they think those you're actually fighting for? Part of the things these young people were fighting for is that the police, the army, should be paid very well and treated very well. One of the testimonies of NSAS protesters, especially Ms. Sarah Ibrahim, Mrs. Onilowo Legend, Mrs. Deborah Akuyi, Miss Kamsi Yochuku, all of whom we are personally present. Even one of them from Anambra State, what's her name again? I had her, Oyanwa, actually. I had her twice on this platform, who on the last time on the anniversary that I had her on here on Njenje Media, she said that the friend that was sitting beside her, whom they spoke before the shooting started over the phone, until today, she's not been able to speak to her again. She has not been able to speak to the individual again. Then you ask yourself, someone is telling you nobody died, but here I am telling you that this young lady, Ify, forget her last name, from Anambra State, lost her friend. Until today, the telephone number the normal phone she uses is no longer available. It's no longer, no one picks the call. Obviously, the battery is dead, and the young person is no longer and nowhere to be seen. Yet, the military are denying that no one died. That report also noted that General Taiwo was shown in video clip around 10, where protesters were shouting that the army had that the army had shot and killed persons. The panel said he admitted seeing someone lying on the ground with what looked like blood. Jeez, how can an army not know that something like that is blood, actually? But she said that the video was fake when he did not produce his own original version, you see? They did not produce their own original version. So what I'm going to do here is I want us to collectively look at the following. Maybe this would help us understand what is at play here, people. So pardon me to take you in this journey, people. Be my guest, because what I have seen in this report is mind-blowing. I hope you will oblige me this time. Please do not turn off. Again, if you're joining me for the first time, my name is Mazes, okay, and this is Njenje Media TV. Once more, this is a live review of the Judicial Panel of Inquiry on restitution for victims of SARS-related abuses. Now, someone already someone had already accused me today, saying Mazi, why is it that this does not take into account those police officers that lost their lives? And my answer is, by no means do I belittle the officers that lost their lives. Again, may their souls also rest in peace. It was needless. But let's not forget here the term of reference, the reason why these people were called to do this job. It's not for any other thing, but basically to find out what actually happened. And without further ado, let's quickly dive into this. I want to take us into this journey and let's review this. I wouldn't want to pause with all this, the terms of reference, the terms of reference. I wouldn't pause with that. These are, obviously terms of reference and terms of reference, obviously, to receive memoranda from concerned members of the public inquiring into case of abuse, brutality, torture, extrajudicial killing by the disbanded SARS. Again, it appears the disbanded SARS are back again, but that's a story for another day. But let me read the foreword from the chairperson of that panel, and you will see for yourself. He says here, forward by the Honorable Chairman of the Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry. There was a social unrest and mass protest against police brutality in the country, calling for disbanding of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, a notorious unit of the police force with a long record of abuse, corruption, unlawful arrest, detention, and extrajudicial killings. Arising from the foregoing, mass demonstration, which occurred throughout Nigeria, accompanied by vociferous outrage on social media platforms. It was against the background that the NSAS protest started between the 8th of October and 28th of October 2020. In different states of the Federation, the Lagos state protest took different dimensions with the military deployment to the Lekki Tollgate, the epic center of the protest in Lagos. Now, question is, would this massacre in Lagos have happened if the military were not deployed? Bear in mind that before the military were deployed, there was also an emergency curfew being placed in Lagos. So by the virtue of that curfew, if they had extended the curfew maybe to 12 midnight to allow those who came from long places, long distance to get home, say people who came from Ketu, people who came from Agbadoja, people who came from, Abulegba, people who came from Munshin, places, they could have all gone home peacefully. And by next day, even if you want to lock down the whole of Lagos State, you could have. If the soldiers didn't shoot and the people didn't get angry, the BRT buses that we saw that was burnt, the Oba's palace that was touched, the TV station, sadly, that was also touched, and other lives that were lost wouldn't have also happened. But again, because the government, that must also be said, bungled the whole incident. Now, the chairperson concludes by saying, Lekki incident, the panel chairman concludes, there can be no single report which can fully resolve the issue between the government and the youth. I am certain that in this report, will add to the inventory of solutions that can assist the nation in overcoming the widespread agitation of the citizens against the police force. Now, pay attention here. Widespread of agitation. Now, this is not a southwest, a northeast, a southeast, a Niger Delta agitation. No, a widespread agitation of coming together of Nigerian youths who are oppressed by those who should take care of them. That is what we see here, right? So people, when we look at this, so we can now see who are the, panel members, and one or two people here really, really understanding what they did, really, really, I must say, impressed me. Impressed me. I must add that. Now, let's look at table of content. Executive summary, page 11. These are pages I would want us to pay attention to. Sorry, if I go to page 6, let me quickly go to page 6 and 7, and we will see something under the acknowledgement, page 6 and 7. Where, okay, I've done 6 and 7. That's where the chairman actually acknowledged. So if we go to page 11, which is the executive summary, and this is where they summarized the whole thing about NSAS and the summary of this report. Bear with me and let's dive deep in. Executive summary, they say. The NSAS stroke, and I must, first of all, before I continue, I must say, Sege Link, I must thank you for all you have done to see that this report came out, against all odds, that this report came out in the form that it came out. The NSAS Police Reform NG advocacy, upon which the protesters premised their NSAS demonstration of discontent protest on, has been the most prominent advocacy in Nigeria and the major rallying point, convergence and common ground for national police brutality and embargo since 2016. This is one of the reasons why the advocacy was surgically curated and youth protests that followed built on the protocol in an orderly manner. Emphasis again, orderly. Organized and transparent fashion, reinforcing the specific objective of shutting down the culture of impunity, that is the ending of that SARS, through the disbandment of the poster child of impunity, which the police structure, SARS, and all tactical squad of the police formation and end goal of the holistic reformation of the Nigerian police forces, that is the NSAS eventually. So, if we look at this, we would understand this is what they were told to do, and what they set out to do and what they've done. They said in particular that the panel shall receive memorandum, blah, blah, blah. So these are what, they set out to do. But interestingly is when you now look at this, for instance, the panel found that LCC hampered the panel's investigation by refusing to turn over some useful and vital information and evidence as requested by the panel and the forensic experts engaged by the panel, even where such information and evidence was by the company available. It manipulated the incomplete CCTV footage of the Lekki Tollgate on the night of the 20th of October, which it tendered before the panel. Now, I thank God that the panel was able to put something like this in this report. No hold bar. You ask yourself, if Nigerian government, if Lagos state government, if the Nigerian army and the Nigerian police are not accomplices here in killing innocent, sorry people, it makes me sick. Those whom you pay tax to, those who should actually be working day and night to see that your lives, your properties are protected, are those who suddenly will be now hiding reports. Those are the people hiding this report from you so that you do not know that these things happened. You can now ask yourself, how wicked can a people be? However, the panel here in their report said that the panel found there was an invitation of the Nigerian army to Lagos State, made by Lagos State government, yet we have it when the Lagos State government said, I am not aware that army did. I did not call the army. And the army said, no, the Lagos State called us. And the Lagos State said, no, we didn't call the army. But again, we can find out this is written in black and white. This is no longer, oh, it's a speculation, it's DJ Switch. No, it's written in black and white. You can no longer deny this. That Lagos State government, through the governor, before the hierarchy of the Nigerian army deployment its soldiers to LekkiTollGate on the night of 28th of October, invited the army to come. And also the panel found that there was an attempt. It's not even an attempt. There were multiple attempts to cover up incidents of the 28th of October by cleaning of the LekkiTollGate and the failure to preserve the scene ahead of potential investigation. Of course, why would they? Why on earth do you think that those who knew that they killed innocent Nigerians, why would you think that they will preserve that for you to somewhat eventually get to them? So the summary, the executive summary, it's really, really interesting to read, which summarizes the whole report. Again, people could say there are limitations here and there, but the panel again recognizes that it had the cooperation of most stakeholders, save for the Nigerian army and some other who ignored summons issued by them. The panel accordingly note that the cooperation of stakeholders through their respective councils, such as council included members of the Nigerian Bar Association, councils to the various groups of NSAS protesters, council to Lagos State government, council to the Nigerian police force. Some of these did not obviously play any role, and they did not come. The panel is also grateful to some people, some experts, and people who volunteered to help in one way or the other. Again, you can see background, what actually happened, and all the thing. There is one part that I want us to see. Honestly, there is one part. All these things are things that happened. What happened where and when some of these sittings took place. Where I think that is much of interest to all of us. Quickly, I did make some screenshots while I was reading. Pardon me, let me find some of these pages quickly for us. Let me quickly find these pages for us. If you would oblige me quickly, which page was that again? And you will be alarmed when you see what I'm about to show you. Let me go to page 294. Hold on, page 294. Let me go to page 294. You will be flabbergasted. Okay, page 294. Okay, people, read this. I don't want to make this long, but the whole thing is we want to stick with the argument that this was a massacre, right? We want to stick with the argument that this was a massacre. And I thank God that this panel, in their infinite wisdom, eventually also agreed that this was the case. Now, page 294 tells me the following. So once you go back, if you pay attention and take note of the pages I'm mentioning now, if you go back to this report, then you can read the same thing that I'm looking at it, that I'm reading here. So page 294 says, whether there was a massacre at the LekkiTollGate on October 20th, 2022. A, the atrocious maiming and killing of unarmed, helpless, unresisting protesters while sitting on the floor and waving their Nigerian. At this point, the first time I read it, tears actually came out of my eyes because, oh, jeez, it's oh, Father Lord. Okay. The first time I read this, I felt like, if you understand what we are reading here, it says that the atrocious maiming and killing of unarmed, that means you and I, our children, our brothers and sisters who do not have any arm, they had no stones, they have no sand, they have no slippers, they were not in any way armed, they were helpless, they were not they were and unresisting protesters. That's the way this report described them. While sitting on the floor and waving their Nigerian flags, while singing the national anthem, they were shot at. And this report says that this, I quote, can be equated to massacre in context. What is then a massacre? If you go by Wikipedia definition, I thank God they even put it here. It says, massacre has been defined as the killing of multiple individuals, which is considered to be morally unacceptable, especially when perpetrated by political actors against defenseless victims. Were the victims of Lekki defenseless? Oh, yes, they were. Were their killers political actors? Yes, they were political actors in military uniform. And was it morally acceptable to have had your fellow citizens killed? Of course, it wasn't morally acceptable. Were multiple individuals killed? Yes, multiple individuals were killed. People, tell me, what is it? The panel then, in B, considered whether what took place at LekkiTollGate on the 20th of October was a massacre. According to the learned author of Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, one of the meaning of massacre is the act or instance of killing a number of usually helpless or unresisting human beings under circumstances of atrocity or cruelty. Again, whether you are, contextualized it, put it in context, out of context, for me, the context here means this is a clear case of massacre. Again, the above context definition, the panel considered the following evidence before it. Now, the evidence NSAS protested at Lekki were defenseless. Of course, they were. Members of the civil populace, mainly youth and adults. Both the Lagos state government and the federal government were well aware of the status, objective, and the nature of their protest. Of course, God bless you guys for standing for the truth. The presence of the protesters at the LekkiTollGate did not threaten the territorial integrity of Nigeria, as the President Muhammadu Buhari, when he had the Arise interview, where he said that the Igbos are the dot in the circle. This is where also the president himself said, do you know these boys? Do you know these people? When they were trying to remove me from Lagos, the president was alluding to what the young ones were protesting in Lagos, alluding to it as the plan to hatch a coup against him. Now, if you have a president who thinks in that pattern, are you in any way surprised that that same president would in any way, punish or even sanction his own army for acting in that way? How? Because if a president acts in that manner, that means he's indifferent. He is indifferent. And because he is indifferent, therefore, the impunity continues. But again, this report, I say, may God bless you guys. Some top officials of Lagos state government met with the youth at the LekkiTollGate around 12 to 1 p.m. of October 20, seeking selected representative to discuss an urgent matter with them with a view to persuading them to leave LekkiTollGate. Why the LekkiTollGate? Because many of you, the Lagos state government, were basically collecting money from, they thought rather than think about their citizens, they were thinking more of lost revenues. Now, the fifth point is also now undeniable. Officers and soldiers of 65 Battalion of the Nigerian Army, led by Lieutenant Colonel Bello, left their base with blank and live ammunition to confront and disperse youth holding only their national flag. Now tell me, if this doesn't get you angry, if this doesn't get you to a point of begin to question your citizenship, then I'm sorry. If your younger ones, if your sons and daughters could be shot by holding a national flag, singing national anthem, and that amounts to treason, that amounts that you will get out live ammunition and shoot at them at night, knowing there could be stampede, knowing that they could die, you just want to kill them. Yet, cowards you are, you couldn't even stand up for those atrocious things you've done. The soldiers actually shot blank and live bullets. Again, it's not Mazezoke speaking. This is the Lekki Massacre report. From today henceforth, you owe no one. You now have an authority to go and say Lekki Massacre because the report from page 294 says so. And that's what the analysis here is doing. They shot, and they killed. What was the intention of that shooting? With the deliberate intention to assault, maim, and kill. You don't shoot blank bullets on someone to say, hey, good morning. Hey, how are you? What are you doing there? Bang, bang, bang. Yes, that's the morning tea. That's not the way it works. Now, even when many of us, myself included, we that night contributed money, sent ambulances to go and evacuate people, and these ambulances, we have the pictures, were turned back. Private ambulances. I'm happy they are capturing it here. Soldiers turned back ambulances that were invited to render first aid and assistance to the wounded soldiers. At this point, I might say to my good friend, Ken Oguzie, thank you very much for working tirelessly that night to make sure that that ambulance left. As much as I think Ken at that day, at that point, material point in time was in Nova Scotia, Canada, but he was able to pull that off for those ambulances to go in. No regrets at all, because it was about the lives of our fellow citizens. When we get to the point of looking at their names, you will marvel as to those who told you, where are the bodies? Then we wouldn't ask them, who are these people? If we are this heartless, to ourselves, then I wonder what we can now do ourselves. Now, the thing here says, the report, uncontroverted evidence. I spared us all the yati in that and went to the meat of this matter. People, if you're about to sleep, wake up, because you're going to see something that will shock you. Now, the panel finds that the Nigerian army had exited the panel at the time of the testimony of NSAS protesters, so their testimonies and evidence were largely uncontroverted through control evidence from those accused of shooting, especially the Nigerian army. The only witness of the Nigerian army, Brigadier General Taiwo, admitted that he was not personally present at LekkiTollGate. Then I don't know why they would send someone who was not present at the point of shooting. The panel finds that the cross-examinations of the NSAS protesters by the Lagos State government, Lekki Concession Company, and the Nigerian police force did not impeach the direct evidence of eyewitnesses, whereas the evidence of the Lagos State government, the Lekki Concession Company, and police came from witnesses who stated that they were not at Lekki Tollgate. Can you see this level of Iberiberism? This is what we call Iberiberized Iberiberism squared. Because you had people, you know that you cannot, you have no evidence to contradict whatever these younger ones are saying. All you now want to do, send people to go defend you, people who were not there. Now, and this is an evidence that there was a cover-up. Again, I say, there are still men of integrity in Nigeria, men and women of integrity. I do my heart. Evidence here of cover-up. It was alleged and corroborated by the soldiers that the soldiers had vans parked at the Lekki Tollgate and removed as many bodies and corpses of the fallen protesters, which they took away with their vans. One of the protesters who was shot and taken for dead. Now, again, he was shot. They thought he has already died. His name is Olalekan Sanisu, who eventually escaped to narrate his ordeal and experience, stated that 11 corpses. Page, again, make note of this page 295. So you can go back once you go and you read for yourself. You can make a screenshot. Make screenshot of this, share them on Twitter, share them to people, so that people who are denying that these atrocities by the state never happened in Nigeria, may there be shame. I only have one prayer. May those who think, no, not think, may those who know that these things happened, but have been denying, saying that this never happened, that we are all alarmist. May they never find peace in their moment. May they never find succor in their moment of adversity. Because you cannot deny that your fellow human beings were killed because of your political, leaning, because of the jollof rice you're getting from whoever is in power, and you now want to deny this atrocious crime. Indeed, this young man, Sanusi, escaped and narrated his ordeal. And because they presumed he was dead, they dumped him. Mrs. Dabira Ayuko also collaborated the above by stating that she saw about 11 bodies placed in one of the military trucks at the Lekki Tollgate. Please, people, is this different in any way, shape, or form from what DJ Switch has been saying? We all saw the video is still on YouTube. We streamed it live from DJ Switch Instagram page. And people are saying this can be doctored. I'm like, you must be an idiot. It means you understand nothing about technology. How can I, now that I'm speaking to you live now, and I'm doctoring this, gunshot everywhere, DJ Switch, she has all the props, all the blood, all the gunshot. There are things you hear, you think all these old people, is their brain switched somewhere? Somewhat. But when you look at all these things, you then begin to ask yourself, why couldn't they just say, I don't know, but why did it even happen in the first place? And this report again goes on to say it was alleged and corroborated that soldiers picked bullets. You can see they were shooting and they're picking their evidences, picked bullet shells. But again, DJ Switch and their friends had their own bullet shells that they already picked. In the morning, they sent LASMA or whatever, Lagos State cleaning agency, whatever, to go and clean, mop up everywhere, clean it. But they forgot one camera where Fashola put a hand like chicken. Those that told us that There is nothing in giving us light. That is only an aggregation of generators. When you put us, any government that cannot provide light in 6 months is useless. Okay, we've seen it. I'm not saying you're useless, but in your own statement. And the head of the government, who incidentally the Minister of Petroleum, told us any government that pays for subsidy, that it is a fraud today. Subsidy, you tell me what they are doing with it, not me. Several unidentified bodies were removed by security agencies and Lagos State Environmental Health Monitoring Unit and deposited at various hospitals and mortuaries in Lagos. Now, yet there were no dead people, but we were removing dead bodies. Again, 3 trucks, people, three trucks with brushes underneath were brought to the Lekki Tollgate in the morning of the 21st to clean up the scene of blood stains and other evidences. There was abundant evidence before the panel that the Lagos State Waste Management Authority, LAWMA, indicated in its Twitter handle that it had effectively cleaned up Lekki Tollgate scene immediately after the incident. But suddenly, everyone is denying it. Now, people, one of the points that I find interesting is this. The panel finds that most NSAS protesters and victims of Lekki Tollgate massacre, Lekki Tollgate incident of October 2020 were largely unwilling to be identified in public for fear of persecution and harassment of security agencies and government generally. Of course, remember, 2 days after the Lekki massacre, I hosted a Zoom program joined by eminent Nigeria, including Professor Chris Imafidon. On that date, many were to join. 2 hours to the event. Those who survived were to join. I was the host. The video is still here on Njenje Media. They rang me, said, Mazi, we can't come. We cannot show our faces. Our lives are in danger. We've been getting threatening calls. Only one brave girl braved it. Amaka Uyangwa. She braved it and she joined that call. Her narration of what happened that night is a tragedy. Yet, many of us are still living in denial, denying that this never happened. I say, if it was that easy, one could actually pray to say, may those who deny that this never happened, may those who deny that this never happened, may they be denied graver things in their lives and in their moment of needing our collective help. May they be told that whatever they are talking did not happen to them until they confess and apologize for doing this grave injustice to the people that are and were innocent. Now again, this panel report continues, says, immediately after the protest, there was palpable fear in the army and police were visiting hospitals. Now look out. Look at this. It's no longer about hearsay. This is in the report. There was palpable fear that the army and police were visiting hospitals to fish up the protesters to the extent that some of them could not return home immediately. Some of the protesters received threats and some were being trailed by unknown persons. Now, who were those unknown persons? The unknown persons, some of them with guns, didn't start today. In the time of Fela, we had unknown soldiers. Today, we have unknown gunmen. We have unknown killers, unknown headsmen, unknown bandits. unknown everything, to the point we now have ungone known men as well. List of casualties of Lekki incident. Yet, people, we are denying it. Brace yourself, because we're about getting into something that is so tragic. People, we are told that our brothers and sisters didn't die. Let me come off this before I show us the names of those who died. We were told by the government that ought to protect our lives and our properties. We are told by the same government that we pay our taxes to, the Nigerian army, that ought to have its principal and primary mandate to protect Nigerian territorial integrity. The police there to maintain law and order. Rather than do the needful, what they have ended up doing is to shoot and kill those they are meant to protect. Now, people, if you wish to go grab your handkerchief, you can do that. If your emotion runs so high that you want to cry, cry. Cry for Nigeria, wither Nigeria. How on earth can a nation be so cruel to a people that it ought to protect? Many people say you know a great nation by the way it treats its own poorest. But here we are not talking about the poorest of the poor. We are talking about its future. You let them sing that the future belongs to the younger ones. Yet, you kill them, you destroy that same future. Now let us look at male. Those they say no one died. For those who died, if you're watching me live, if you're going to watch me later, may we say collectively, may their souls rest in peace. May the good Lord, may whatever they believe in accept their souls. Amen. May we give them 1 minute silent for the ones we've lost. A nation that ought to protect them failed them. Rest in peace, brethren. Now here we go. Here is their names, or rather here are their names. Victor Sunday Ibanga, dead, diseased, yet no one died. Abuta Solomon, diseased, male. Jide, no one knows the second name because many of them met themselves there. Nicholas Okbe, gunshot injury. Okala Patrick Ayide, gunshot injury. Olalikan Falaye, gunshot injury. Mabel Nnaji, gunshot injury. Joshua Samuel, gunshot injury. Lucky Philomena. Ajoku Jeffet, gunshot injury. Okpeka Inde, injury to the wrists. Charles Chinedu Ozioma, Damirola Adedayo, Andrew Ugochukwu, Ayom Samuel, Isaac Amade, Felix Nandip. Now, yet no one died. Gunshot injury. You can see all of them. Samuel Johnson, Simon Abu Raymond, Moses Adams, Xavier Osike, Moses Oyi, Yunusa Adamu, John Harrison, Solomon Samuel Agi, Theophilus David, Evigo Trust, Olumilade Dauda, Samuel Ashola, Asua Roland Thomas, Emmanuel Obonna, Joshua James, Paul Femi, Olalekun Sanusi. Again, that's the one that was shot, that they thought he died, but eventually he, when they took about 10 of them to the mortuary, when they dumped him and the army left, he woke and was alive. Okay, so Olalekun Abidan Ashafat, Ola Lekun Ajasa, Kolade Salame, Folorunsho Olobisi, disease. You can see young Nigerians, young, diseased, dead. Look at them. He continues. Kolade Salame, Folorunsho Olabisi, Kenechukwu Ugo, Abiodun Adesanya, Ifeanyi Nicholas Eji, Tola Wisdom, Ifeanyi Agbazie, Ninata Stanley Chimezie, Nathaniel Solomon, Ayadeji Bekle, and the last but not the least, Oni Lowo Legend. Now, for those of you who are thinking and making comments on ethnic nonsense, does the list tell you something? Bullet knows no Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Fulani, anything. This is a collective fight about humanity. It does not matter whether you're Fulani, whether you're a Ibibio, whether you're Yoruba, whether you're Efik, whether you're Ijo, it does not matter. You can see all the names here this name here reflects the diversity of the Nigerian state. When those men turned off the light at Lekki, they didn't know if it was Sanusi he was behind. Neither did they care if it was Ifeanyi that I was on the other side. Or did they give a hoot if it was Olabode, or if it was Femi, or if it was Danladi? Injustice knows no race. Collectively, we must say that this manner of nonsense must stop. We must speak up for one another. There was a time we saw it happened. February 2026 in Aba, a people gathered to pray in their own wisdom that their leader was being brought to court, that there should be divine intervention. What happened? Those that ought to protect them, give them protection, give them succor, came in, and what did they do? They shot at innocent protesters. Sorry, I take that back. They shot at innocent Nigerians kneeling down in Aba, in a school in Aba, praying. Again, you might hate them because they are from a certain place. It doesn't make the action of the military right. A certain people in Zaria Road in Kaduna, they might be irritating in their actions. It doesn't make it right that we rode a tank meant to protect the territorial integrity. And because you think they have a different fundamental thinking regarding religion, then you go and kill them. You kill them in Abuja. Here, if you did not speak up when Aba happened, if you did not speak up when Zakibian happened, if you did not speak up when Odi happened, if you did not speak up when Zaria happened, and you did not speak up when Lekki happened, then I ask you, when would you speak up? Remember this famous quote. During the time of Nazi, There was this famous quote. You might be thinking, yes, you are part of the ruling class, whom I call the plutocrats. You might think, oh, I am part of this class. But be that as it may, we must all speak up against injustice, irrespective of who is at the receiving end. It is our collective right that we must fight to stay alive, and we must demand to be treated right. What is there? People are saying the police are killing us. They had their demands. All you should have done is to come down to their level, engage them. Yes, the first day the engagement might not be too successful, but why do you have to then use the army? Engage them and begin to, when these young ones begin to see that you're putting their demands into action, you see things begin to change. Now, having looked at these names 48, I can tell you, having praised these people who put this thing together, I can tell you that the number of dead is way, 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 way more than what you've written here. At least from the intel we got the next day, where these bodies were deposited, they were more than way, way, way off this. But for argument's sake, for those who now say nobody died, okay, for argument's sake, you see somebody done that. So are you going to use the bodies for suya? Nobody died. Yes, you've seen it. And look at it in all this. How did the Lagos State Lekki Concession Company get involved in all this madness? I'm happy that the report also looked into it. And it says here, the Lekki Concession Company owns and runs the Lekki Tollgate, which becomes the epicenter of the Lekki protests. The LCC was obviously in charge of the operation and custody of the CCTV cameras, and indeed all cameras at the Lekki Tollgate. There is no doubt whatsoever that the cameras would provide real-time evidence as to what happened if they remained untouched. Nigeria is a land of wicked men and women in authority. Whoever is involved in making sure that these evidences did not see the light of day, may it never be well with them. May it never be well with them. May Nigeria happen to them. May things that happen to these innocent children happen to them as well. Now, he says, from the totality of evidence before it, the panel finds that some sets of cameras stationed at the Lekki Tollgate were removed by members of staff of LCC on October 2020, and they were not tendered before the panel. Rather, they want to show us the one, Minister Fashola, with long neck like ostrich, put hand at the back, walking, the investigator, the one he found, that was the one they want to show us. The one that had the CCTV recording. No. That Tollgate actually should be one of the safest places in Lagos because of the level of and the clarity of those CCTVs. Top-notch CCTVs. World-class CCTVs. But suddenly, when it is needed, Nigeria happened to the CCTV. People, we all get one day. All of us will get old one day. Those who are involved here, we will all, I pray that we all be alive. Somebody will begin to confess before they go to their graves of all the atrocities they committed against a people demanding for a better life, a better situation for us collectively. There was no this, it was a collective demand. The police that shot them, They were demanding for better pay for police, saying, how can a police be living in these destruct, when you look at their barracks, like where pigs are reared. The army, they say, buy army good equipment, fund them well, train them well. See, sometimes I don't get it. He went ahead and killed. He ended up like, in Okonkwo. When Okonkwo was told to not bear hand in killing the child that calls you father, you still went and killed the same Ahamefuna. Sorry, Ikemefuna. Do not kill the child that calls you father. These children, these younger ones, we are there protesting for your own rights. And you went and you shot them. Would you all of you have died when they say open fire and you say no, we cannot shoot these innocent children here? They're also fighting for us. Are you zombies? Man. Nigeria. May Nigeria never happened to all of us. May Nigeria never happened to us. It is indeed sad. Now, and the report went further to say, there was no doubt that this picture would have been clearer and the panel and forensic experts would have been assisted in their fact-finding missions and analysis if the vital pieces of evidence had been tendered. But again, it wasn't tendered. But the final finds from the report of the forensic expert that the movement of the cameras following a preset format most of the time and switching from the mode at other times strongly suggests that it was operated on both automated and manual mode during the time under review, contrary to evidence of the MD of the LCC that the men were not on ground. Wayo people. And they now went ahead to tell us the time, the camera, when these things then happened. Things that were automatically, when you have, if you have a CCTV camera, you know that the moment it goes on night mode, you come in, there's some lights, infrared lights begin to shine so that they can, use that infrared to get the night vision properly. But here, we are doing it switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off. Shame. Shame, 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 shame on those, everyone involved. Disobedience to unlawful summon by the, obviously now saying that these men, exactly that Bello did not. He was summoned and he didn't. Major General Godwin Umelo, again, summoned. And summon was reissued. No show. What happened? Again, aftermath of the Lekki incident. All these things. Can someone now, with all this evidence, tell us that no massacre happened at Lekki? See this. Shooting at Lekki Tollgate. From the evidence of Taiwo on page 6, 7, 21, 22, and panel findings that both blank and live bullets were fired by the Nigerian army at the Lekki Tollgate. Now, they said they believe this by these following reasons. Apart from the military men in uniform, the army itself left the base with vehicle, rifle, and gun, which contained both live and blank bullets. General Taiwo admitted this. Obviously, it's without regurgitating this. Yes, they left that place, and these were used on innocent citizens. Injuries from the gunshot. The panel finds that the testimony of Babajide Lawson of Radisson Hospital as to the nature of treatment offered victims of the Lekki Tollgate incident is in relation to gunshot wounds which were high velocity. Obviously, these are things that obviously we've looked at before. That is in the executive summary. Now, if you look at some of these testimonies, like the testimony of those who partook in that, you look at the testimony of Sarah Ibrahim, legend, Akiu Kamsi Chuk, that should be Kamsi Yochuku, all of whom were personally present at the Lekki Tollgate, as to the fact that the army shot live bullets, video evidence of casualties, fatalities, etc., lend credence to the fact that army shot all the protesters. Now, I think at this point, what this panel has found out is in line and tallies with what CNN also found out. Now, the question now will be, if these all are tallying up together, and we had the government through its lying ministry had, did I say lying ministry? Ministry of Information had already, insulted CNN and all this. Now, I don't know if the lying ministry, or sorry, the Ministry of Information is going to go back to these, and take their words back, because now, obviously, they have been, they have been, the facts on the table. And this is not only about that. If you also look at the testimony reports from Professor John Obafunwa, a forensic pathologist of the Lagos State Teaching Hospital, showed that 3 corpses were deposited at the mainland hospital, Yaba. There were more than that, sir, unless you were not informed too. There were more than that. That night, that one we know. We know there were more than that, okay? Now, and these corpses came from LekkiTollGate, and the autopsy conducted thereon revealed death from bleeding caused by penetrating object or rifle weapon. No. They blew powder on them. They didn't use bullets. Huh? They didn't use any bullets. Again, people, is a crime scene. Nigeria is a crime scene. My prayer and my conclusion, eventually the thing concluded here, these are men who really put time and effort to do this. And I say, men, gentlemen, you have done an excellent job. For me, that is it, people. May Nigeria, that's my prayer. I keep praying this every day. May Nigeria never happen to any of us. May Nigeria never happen to us. May Nigeria never happen to us. And here we are denying that nobody died at Lekki, but here are the names. For those who are joining late, here are the names of those who died and who got injured in Lekki. But I can tell us, without mincing any word at all, that the names of those who died in Lekki is much higher than what the panel was able to uncover, because a lot of evidences were destroyed by those who killed, who took the corpses. They were destroyed. They were destroyed. People, you have seen it. When they tell you nobody died in Lekki, please ensure to share this video with every other person. Make sure you share this video. That's the least we can do for ourselves. That we cannot be alive and allow men, we can't allow cucumbers and carrots in authorities to keep treating us this way. We must keep informing others of their atrocities. We must keep informing ourselves. 84, according to their record, of our fellow citizens, countrymen and women, who their crime was to demand for a better life. Recall again that even when this thing started, you see, Nigeria is a crime scene. Because when this protest started, if you recall, they sent, in Abuja, they sent DSS, and they brought dogs. The first night, they destroyed people's cars, people who came to protest, where they parked their cars, they destroyed it. The other time they went to, was it Day or Mechanic Village, and burnt people's car. I think one of these guys, CUPP, Ikengimo, said one of his cars was burnt as well. In Lagos, we saw people brought by MCO More Lowo or whatever, the one that recently had a doctorate degree, shame on us, you know, he hired his men. And people saw them on camera. The camera is still there. And they had 9 machetes threatening innocent and peaceful protesters. But till today, none of those people been arrested. Yet, innocent protesters, more than 200 of them from Lekki are still in jail. Today, we're talking about, up till now that I'm speaking to you. What is their crime? Coming out to protest. While I condemn the burning of the properties, the destruction that happened thereafter, but I keep saying, my late dad normally say, he who wants to separate fight must start from finger pointing. Because if the government started at the point of not pointing fingers, started at point of not bringing in the army, yes, you have introduced curfew. You could have allowed the curfew. You could have allowed civil law to take its course. Would they have killed anybody if the police would have helped people? If it means you don't have money to go, if it means giving them transport fare, even, I don't know, even transporting them genuinely because, okay, I cannot go, I transport you. Wouldn't that have saved us all this destruction, both infrastructure wise and human lives that were lost? But again, in Nigeria, nothing ever makes sense. Nothing, absolutely nothing. That men, women can look and say that these people never died, that all of us were lying, that DJ Switch, who suddenly, her crime was to report what happened on that same day. Suddenly, DJ Switch can no longer come back to Nigeria. Suddenly, DJ Switch is running from one country to another, taking asylum. Why? For standing up as a young girl and showing the world what happened. Again, before I leave us tonight, I will say, people, may Nigeria, for the umpteenth time, never happen to us. And I am Mazi, is okay. So if you wish to read the full comprehensive report, 300 and something, about 392 pages or thereabout, you can go to the description of this video or you go to njenjemedia.com. You would see the full report in the article that is shared within this video description. Read it, share the video, let us make it go viral. On that note, I'll say thank you very much for being part of this conversation. Tomorrow, I'm going to endeavor to bring other people to come on this platform to really give us greater insight as to what really happened and their understanding of what they understand with this report. On that note, I will say good morning to all of us in this side of the world. Now, so some of you in the other side of the world, it might be your evening, or it might even be your afternoon or your midday. Whichever one it is, have a pick. I say good morning and good night. I am Mazi. It's okay.